My grandmother's lazy trick for tomatoes gave her 45 pounds per plant, while the rest of the neighborhood got maybe 10. Same outdoor sun, same season. She used 3 simple habits, and one of them was doing almost nothing. If you're working hard on your tomato plants and still ending the season disappointed, that hard work is part of the problem. Today, I'll walk you through 3 habits that can roughly double your harvest. No greenhouse, and a family-safe option that replaces harsh chemicals. Grab a pen. Write this down. I'll also cover what most videos skip, which tricks apply to indeterminate versus determinate, a family-safe pH option, and a short-season outdoor playbook. Stick around. There's a question I want you to keep in your head. Why does doing less actually grow more tomatoes? Here's what's coming. Secret 1. The 12-leaf rule. How to balance your plant's energy between leaves and fruit. Secret 2. Cluster thinning. How many fruits each cluster should keep and which tomato types should skip this entirely. Secret 3. The pH window where your plant can actually use the nutrients you've already given it using a kid-safe and pet-safe option. About 12 minutes total. There's a cheat sheet at the end. Let's start with the one most home gardeners get wrong. Think of your tomato plant like a small household with a budget. The leaves are the paycheck. They make sugar from sunlight. Extra branches and lower leaves? Those are bills. The flowers and fruit? That's savings. Too few leaves and the plant doesn't earn enough sugar. Fruit may set, but never ripen. Too many leaves with not enough flower clusters, and the plant just hoards paychecks. Lush and green, almost no tomatoes. Here's why this works. The University of Vermont proved that if you strip too many leaves, your yield typically drops by 17%. Your plant is simply starving. The sweet spot most commercial growers aim for is about 12 mature leaves below the top flower cluster. Let me show you what that looks like on a real plant. Find the highest flower cluster. Now count down the main stem. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12. Anything above your top cluster, leave it. Anything below 12 mature leaves, those are the bills you can cut. Here's the 5-minute habit. Once a week, snip the 3 lowest leaves with clean pruners. As the plant grows 3 more leaves up top, take 3 off the bottom. That keeps your leaf count steady and your bottom leaves off the soil, which also reduces splash-borne disease. Important caveat. This rule is for indeterminate tomatoes, the kinds that keep growing taller all season. Beefsteak, most heirlooms, sun gold, big boy. If you're growing determinate varieties, Roma, Celebrity, most paste tomatoes, skip this. Determinate plants are programmed for one main flush, and heavy pruning costs you that flush. So now your plant has the right leaf-to-fruit ratio. The next question is the one most home gardeners never ask. How many fruits should each cluster actually keep? Same energy budget idea, but now applied to the fruit side. Every cluster has a sugar quota the plant can deliver. Pile too many fruits on one cluster, and each one gets a smaller share. Think of it like dinner. 5 kids at a table, each gets half a bowl. 3 at the table, each gets a full one. Tomato clusters work about the same way. My neighbor Linda tried this on her beefsteaks last summer. When she thinned down to 3 fruits per cluster, her tomatoes sized up massive. But they cracked, and her total weight actually dropped. When she bumped it up to 6 fruits per cluster, that's where the highest total weight per plant landed, around 8,300 grams. 3 fruits gave the biggest individual tomatoes, but 6 gave the biggest harvest overall. So for outdoor home gardens, a balanced target most growers I've talked with land on is 3 to 4 fruits per cluster on indeterminate beefsteak and heirloom types, and 5 to 6 on big fruited hybrids. That gives you sized-up tomatoes without giving up the season's total. Here's the demo. Wait until each fruit is about marble-sized. Pick the strongest 3 or 4. Snip the rest off at the stem with clean shears. The plant redirects sugar to the keepers within days. Skip this on cherry and grape tomatoes. Their clusters are designed for many small fruits, and thinning costs you total yield without improving size. Skip it on determinate varieties too. Quick note before we move on. I share a new gardening secret like this every week. So, if you're not already subscribed, hit that button. It's how you make sure the next one finds you. So now your plant is balanced, leaves and fruit. But here's the thing. If your tap water is alkaline, none of that pruning saves you. The plant can't actually use the nutrients you've given it. That's secret 3. And it's where most videos point you towards something I do not recommend. Soil and water pH decide whether the fertilizer you just bought actually reaches your plant. When pH climbs above 7, phosphorus binds with calcium, iron and zinc precipitate out, and your plant shows yellow leaves with green veins, even though the soil is full of nutrients. For tomatoes, the typically recommended soil pH is 6.2 to 6.8. For the water you actually feed them with, growers aim a little lower, 5.8 to 6.2. That window is where the most nutrients stay available at once. Step 1. Test your tap water with a strip. They cost under $20. If your reading is below 7, you may not need to acidify at all. Many home gardens in the Northeast are already in the sweet spot. Now, about the part where some videos point you to battery acid. I do not recommend that. There are safer options that work. And that's what I want my grandkids and pets walking past in the garden. For the soil. Once at the start of the season, elemental sulfur at about 0.2 pounds per 10 square feet raked in. It's slow but stable. For sandy soil, use the lower end of that range. For heavier clay, a little more. This is the same product nurseries sell for blueberry beds. For the water. If your tap reads above 7, food-grade citric acid is the home-friendly choice. About 1/8 teaspoon per gallon typically pulls most tap water down into the 6.0 range. Retest before you pour. The EPA classifies citric acid as generally recognized as safe. It's the same acid that's already in your lemonade. If you'd rather not measure, blueberry acidifier pellets sold at any garden center work for raised beds. Slower acting, very forgiving, no precise dosing required. Safety notes for the family. Citric acid is food grade and safe to handle. Just wash your hands, like with anything. Elemental sulfur is low toxicity, but avoid breathing the dust and store the bag out of reach of kids and pets. And here's the one to write down. Do not use battery acid, sulfuric acid, or aluminium sulfate around children, pets, or anyone who eats from the garden. And one last caveat. If your soil is already acidic, which is common across much of the Northeast, pH 4.5 to 6, do not add sulfur. You may actually need lime to raise pH. Test first. A $10 mail-in soil test from your state extension lab is the cheapest insurance you'll buy this year. And there's the answer to the question I asked at the start. Why does doing less actually grow more tomatoes? Because every extra leaf, every extra fruit, every locked-up nutrient pulls from the same energy budget your plant needs to ripen the tomatoes you actually want. Quick recap. Secret 1. Keep about 12 mature leaves below your top flower cluster for indeterminate types only. Secret 2. Thin clusters to 3 or 4 fruits on beefsteak and heirloom indeterminate plants. Leave cherry, grape, and determinate types alone. Secret 3. Keep your water in the 5.8 to 6.2 range using citric acid and elemental sulfur. Family safe. Never battery acid. One thing to do today, before the sun sets. Walk out to one tomato plant. Count the mature leaves below the top flower cluster. Write that number down. That's your baseline. If it's under 10 or over 15, you've already found pounds of tomatoes you can add this season without spending $1. Stick with these 3 habits for one season, and your neighbors will ask what you're doing differently. Quick question for you. Are you team indeterminate or team determinate when it comes to tomatoes? Drop a comment below. I read them. If this video saved you a season of trial and error, give it a thumbs up. It helps other home gardeners find it. If your tomatoes are doing great, but the leaves are turning yellow, you might be making one of these common fertilizing mistakes. The video right next to this one breaks down exactly how to fix it. I'll see you over there. Happy gardening.